Today's lesson deals with how decimals, fractions, and percents are all related to one another. And to help me out with that, I've got my good friend Alexis here. You ready to jump in?
Yeah, I'm ready.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Good, you sound ready. So let's look at our first problem. We're going to turn a fraction into a decimal. And the way we do that is by dividing. Every fraction is actually a division problem. 4 over 5 is the same as saying 4 divided by 5. So this fraction line right here is really a different way to write a division symbol. So let's make our division problem look a little more familiar. I'm going to turn it on its side. Just like a door handle, I'm going to turn it to the right because I want to get the right answer. So we're going to turn our 4 and our 5 on their side. 5, here's my fraction line, and my 4. And I'm just going to, I already said the fraction line is just another way to write a division symbol, so I'm going to close it out. 5 goes into 4. Now this is just 4 exactly and nothing more, right?
Right.
It's 4, period, and nothing more. Now just for a second, let's pretend this decimal point isn't here. Now it looks like I'm dividing 40 by 5. And 5 goes into 40 how many times?
8 times.
Perfect. Absolutely correct. 8 times. But we've got this decimal here. And because 5 is a whole number, and we're dividing it into 4.0, we can just bring our decimal point right up here. So our answer is 4 over 5, or 4 divided by 5, equals 0.8, or 8 tenths. And we just turned a fraction into a decimal point. Now, let's turn a decimal into a fraction. Look at this. We've got 0.8, or 8 tenths. We already know that decimals and fractions are very closely related. 8 tenths, the decimal, can also be written as 8 tenths, the fraction. They've got the same name. That makes sense, right? Mm-hmm. But you and I both know that 8 and 10 are even numbers, so we can simplify them, because 2 goes into both of them, right?
Right.
Absolutely. So let's divide out that 2. 8 divided by 2 gives me 4, and 10 divided by 2 gives me 5. So 0.8 equals 4/5. Just like before, 4/5 equals 0.8. So now we know how to change a fraction into a decimal and vice versa. Let's look at this problem. The fraction is 1/4, or 1 divided by 4. Let's do the same thing again. We'll turn the doorknob to the right because we want to get the right answer. 4, fraction line, 1. We've turned it to the right. Mm-hmm. And we'll close out our fraction line and make it a division problem. And this is just 1 period and nothing more, right?
Right.
Absolutely. So it's 1 period and nothing more. Once again, let's pretend for just a second that decimal point isn't there. So now our problem looks like 4 being divided into 100. Now you and I both know that 4 goes into 100 how many times?
25 times.
Perfect. 25 times. But once again, we're going to put our decimal point right there. So 1/4 is equal to 0.25, or 25 hundredths. Right?
That's right.
And we know from before that another way to write 25 hundredths, the decimal, is by writing 25 hundredths, a fraction. It's 25 per 100. Have you seen this word before? Cent?
Yeah.
A penny is worth 1 cent. And how many cents are in a dollar?
100.
Absolutely correct. 100. Cent is a word that means 100. Just like there are 100 years in a century, and there are about 100 little tiny legs on a centipede. Per is a word that means for every, or for each. So this is 25 per 100, or 25 per cent. See how fractions, decimals, and percents are related? Mm-hmm. 25 over 100 is 25%. Now, instead of writing out the words per and cent every time, there's a shortcut. 0.25, if we want to turn this decimal into a percent, we just move the decimal place 2 spots to the right. So 0.25 becomes 25%. So now we see how fractions, decimals, and percents are all related. Are you ready for the speed round?
Oh, yeah.
You better be. The first one they did for us, which is nice. 6 tenths, the fraction, equals 6 tenths, or 60 hundredths, the decimal, which equals, if I move my decimal 2 spots to the right, 60%. Number 2, That's the problem we just did. 1/4. 1 divided by 4 equals 0.25, or, if we move the decimal 2 spots to the right, 25%. Number 3, we got to start with a percent and go backwards. So instead of moving our decimal 2 spots to the right, let's move it 2 spots to the left, giving us 0.20, or 20 hundredths, or 2 tenths, which is the same as the fraction called 2 tenths. Can I reduce this, Alexis?
Sure.
You bet I can. 2 goes into both of them. So another way to write 2 tenths in a completely reduced form is by dividing out the 2 and writing it as 1/5. Now let's do this last one, 0.5. Let's start first by turning it into a percent.
Okay.
How would I go about doing that? I'm going to move my decimal place somewhere.
Gonna move it 2 spaces to the right.
Perfect. Excellent. Now it's there, but I got a blank spot, so I'm going to fill it with a 0, a place filler, because it doesn't change the value of it. 0.5 is the same as 0.50, which makes this 50%. Now let's go backwards. Let's look at our original decimal, which was 5 tenths, right? 5 tenths. The fraction can also be written as, 5 goes into both of them,
1.
over 2, or 1/2. And it makes sense. 50% of something is the same as 1/2 of something, which, as we also found out, is the same as 0.5. And that's basically all there is to it. As you go on and do more and more problems, changing a fraction to a decimal to a percent will get easier and easier the more familiar you get with it. So now it's your turn. Go to it and get ahead in math.